what was the, you describe in detail the relationship between Dr. Seuss and his wife, and one gets the impression that, this, I don't know if it's the support, really a partnership, that
Yeah.
he could not have become Dr. Seuss without his wife. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. First of all, she was the one sitting next to him in class in Oxford who said, "What are you in here trying to be a college professor for? You need to be drawing for a living." So, right there, she already gets some big credit for that. Um, but she was his first and best editor. She was the one more than anybody else who was permitted to call baloney on him. Every draft went to Helen first. And Helen was a really talented writer in her own right. At one point in World War II, when he was serving in the army, she was paying the bills by writing children's books for Disney, for example. So really had an intuitive sense for all the things that were important to Dr. Seuss, an intuitive sense for plot and for character. Even there's a great moment when he was working on The Grinch, for example, and he's sitting out by the pool, and she comes out with the pages and says, "This isn't right," and he doesn't want to have that conversation, but he knows that she's probably correct. And she points out to him that there's some places here the text doesn't quite work, and then you're starting to draw the who's too small. She says they look like bugs, and he said, "Well, they are bugs." And she said, "No, they're not. They're people." And yeah, and he knew she was right. So it was back to the drawing board. But Helen was the only one that could do that to him. But she was so important, and he valued her talent so much that when he does start the beginner book imprint, Beginner Books was sort of the brainchild of Bennett Cerf's wife.
Mhm.
But when he forms that company with her, he also insists that Helen be brought on board as a full equal partner in the business. Now, partly that was as well, so if they ever had to outvote anybody, he always knew it was going to go 2-1. But also because he knew she was good, and she went out there and was immediately recruiting people as well. And she was just as much a stickler for those rules as anybody else. And they would write these just long letters to authors saying, "I don't like the way you've portrayed the moon here. It looks too dusty, and it looks it's uninteresting." And the author wrote back and said, "Actually, the moon is really dusty and kind of uninteresting." She said, "Well, but I don't care if it's factually correct. It's uninteresting." But finally, they published the book. So she was a real stickler as well, just as much as he was. So definitely, his genius fed off of hers, and she fed into it, and really gave him what he needed. Not just paying the bills when he needed, but also gave him that first read, which is something authors and writers really, really need. An honest opinion from someone who loves you and can let you down gently, which is the hardest thing in all to do.